Welcome to Castles to Cauldrons, where every journey starts with a little bit of magic.
All right, welcome to episode 4 of Castles to Cauldrons. I'm Jason, here with my co-host Rachel, Terry, and Micah, and we have Taylor with us today. We're going to be discussing our East Coast and West Coast of Universal and Disney. Taylor, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you like with the travel agency and what you do maybe outside the travel agency? Just more about you.
Sure. So, hi, everyone. My name's Taylor O'Rourke. I'm originally from a very, very small town in northeastern Connecticut, and I moved to Florida, specifically in Tampa, 2 years ago now. And I absolutely love being closer to the theme parks in Orlando, of course. Within magical travel, I've been here for, goodness, I think now about 3.5 years or so. And I absolutely love booking Disney destinations. I love booking Universal on both coasts, as well as Royal Caribbean and other cruise lines, and Sandals and Beaches for all-inclusives. Outside of what I do when I'm booking travel, I love reading, I love beach, and I'm also a full-time licensed mental health counselor. So a little bit of everything. I'm very, very busy, but I love prioritizing my work-life balance and just being able to travel as much as I can. So that way it makes me an even better candidate to hopefully help all of you plan travel for yourselves as well. So thank you guys so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
We're excited to have you on. Before we get started with our topics today, we have a little bit of news coming out of Walt Disney World. Lightning McQueen Racing Academy will be changing to a villain show come October 7th. I've never done this in my life. I know it's only been open for a few years. I know where it's at. Never touched it, but I think I will go back there for a villain show. What are y'all's thoughts?
I had to look at the map. I was just going to agree. I actually had to, when I saw the news, pull up the app and go find it on the map. Because I was like, what are they talking about, this Lightning McQueen show? So I'm kind of the same way. I think the villain show will draw a lot more. I would go back for a villain show. I probably would not go all the way back there for Lightning McQueen.
I don't know. The Racing Academy is really cute, and it definitely got my son's attention, and he sat still. Let's see, how old is he now? 7. This was 2 years ago. So he was 5, and it kept his attention. I think this could be bad news for Villain Land. If they're pulling villains into Hollywood studios, I think that could be a sign, since we didn't get a time for when Villains Land was going to start, that they're kind of pushing the villains into Hollywood studios, maybe because they heard all of us talking about how Magic Kingdom's getting too crowded or busy, or there's too much going on there and not enough in other parks like Hollywood Studios, that they're kind of pushing that over there. Because it kind of doesn't make sense to take it away if we're putting Monsters, Inc. over there, and that could be like a whole Pixar area with having Lightning McQueen there. But I don't know. It kind of like makes me worry for the Villain Land part.
Wasn't this the Villain Club? Like before Lightning McQueen, they did that special ticket event, and it's been a black box theater for a while, but they had a special ticket event years ago, and you can meet like all the characters, and they were face characters, not mask characters, and they were villains. So it's kind of weird that it's going kind of full circle. But
that whole area used to be, so it was blocked off for that. That used to be where we would enter on VIP tours before the Academy was there. And that has the best bathrooms because they're like off the beaten path and no one is ever in there. But that was like the entrance for the VIP tours because you end up right in front of Rock and Roller Coaster.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then, they have another way for that now. But I think that area is small in general. So I am curious to see what they do with the villains.
Maybe it's kind of a test
show
to see. I mean, they know the villains are popular, but maybe it's like a test to see how popular, how the show will retain people to keep coming back and seeing it all.
I just don't think there's a lot of space back there.
I don't think there's a lot of space either. I'm trying to remember when we were waiting for the show, because my dad was in like a little, like on a scooter, and I just felt like there just wasn't a lot of space for us to like wait for the show and for people to like park strollers and put the scooters and stuff to like go into the show. It just wasn't a ton of space back there.
And I know years ago when they did Star Wars weekends, that was Darth Maul's area. They had a big tent that they'd put back there for the Darth Maul, which was all the merchandise for Star Wars weekends and whatnot. Universal's doing a special night for nerds, and they're doing in Hollywood. They're going to do a Star Trek night, a Dungeons and Dragons night, and I can't remember what the third one was.
There's 3 separate nights, or they're doing 3 things on one night?
It's going to be 3 separate events. I don't know if how many nights each one's going to be, but it's for Universal Hollywood. It's going to be a fan fest, I think they're calling it. So I'm going out to Universal Hollywood probably next spring to do the Star Trek one and get experience with Universal Hollywood, which I've been to now 3 times, and I have my 4th time in December, if I remember right. And Taylor just took her first trip in May of this year, and then no one else on the panel has been to Universal Hollywood.
Nope.
So this is going to be a great time for them to just ask questions and find out what's kind of the difference between Universal Orlando and Universal Hollywood, and maybe which one's better, which one has better attractions or anything like that. So Taylor, tell us what was your experience with Hollywood?
Sure. So it's very, very different. I think it's a lot jam-packed into one park, unlike the 2 dry parks that we have in Orlando. So it's not really framed as an entire resort or like a vacation destination per se, like Universal Orlando Resort is, of course. It's just a standalone park. There are some other hotels that are super close by. I stayed at one of them. It was great to have the transportation and whatnot, because it's all built into basically like a cliff, for lack of better words. So there's 4 different escalators that you have to take to get from the upper lot down to the lower lot at Studios Hollywood. So you want to make sure that you're kind of planning your day ahead of time, because it does take a decent amount of time to get from one area to the other. So that's very, very different, obviously, compared to very flat Florida as we know it in Orlando at Universal. So they have Super Nintendo World out there. That was definitely the highlight for me. I can't say I'm a huge Nintendo fan by any means, but just to see something that was so uniquely Hollywood was really awesome, and maybe even more excited for Epic Universe opening next year here in Orlando. So that was cool. Toadstool Cafe, definitely worth the hype. I enjoyed that. It was the most stressful thing I've ever done to get in to Toadstool Cafe. So definitely need to prioritize that if you want to dine there. The early access into Super Nintendo World is also definitely money well spent. I think that was maybe $25 the day that I went. So it's just structured a lot different. The studio tour that's out there, that's a huge chunk of your time. That was at least an hour or so for me. Very much like the backlot tour that we used to have when Hollywood Studios at Disney World here was MGM Studios. So that was definitely a highlight just for something different, because that was really what I wanted to see when I went out to the West Coast, is what's different out here. What is the draw that makes these destinations unique compared to, oh, I have to go to Orlando. That's the place to go. That's the place to vacation. So that was the highlight for me for sure, is I really wanted to make sure I hit the things that I knew were different.
What resort did you stay at?
So I stayed at the Sheraton. That's right outside of Universal.
And I've stayed at the Garland, was the one I like. And that's the thing with Universal Hollywood. You know, they make the packages still where you can stay at a offsite resort and get transportation, like Taylor was saying, to and from the hotel. I like the Garland gives you a little trolley. It's like a little old time feel hotel, and it's a little open air trolley that takes you to and from Universal. It makes 1 or 2 more stops, but it was a little fun. I always enjoyed it.
Definitely some good choices. I liked how close they were, because I know that's usually what I complain most about if I'm staying on site at Disney World is, oh my gosh, I'm getting onto this bus or I'm getting onto this boat and it's going to take me another 20 minutes to get to the parks. Whereas staying at either the Sheraton or the Hilton, I'm not sure entirely the Garland's location, but it was like 5 minutes. I was, looking down at my phone and looking up, and we were there at the entrance to City Walk. So I definitely like the proximity out there.
I think it was like 10 minutes on the trolley, but their trolley only ran every 30 minutes. And when we went in June, we missed, like, we were walking out and the trolley was pulling out, so we had to get an Uber. It cost us $5. Nothing big.
So what was so different about getting the Toadstool Cafe reservation than it would have been on the East Coast?
So with that, it's not like a proper advanced dining reservation. It's something more so that acts like a virtual queue, like we would know more so in Orlando with Disney especially. So it would drop, let's say, right at 7 a.m. So if you weren't making that reservation, or it's essentially a wait list that you're joining rather than a reservation, right on the nose at 7 a.m. while you're also trying to get into lines for different things or take pictures because you just paid $25 to get into Super Nintendo World early, you're not going to get in. And there's no walk-up availability. So it's really critical that you're on it right on the dot, just like I said, if you were getting a virtual queue for something else.
That chat.
I did not know that. Thank you.
It changed too from when it opened because you had to be in the land to actually get the reservation to begin with. You had to scan the QR code and everything, say, hey, I'm here. And so to book it all the way across, you had to make sure you had the early entry or the express pass to get in, and then hope you were there early enough to get, because we didn't get into it. We were too late.
That is technically how it still works. It's just been a matter of people like released the website that the QR brings you to. So now, like, if you Google search hard enough, you can find it without actually going up to the entrance. But no, I made the mad dash, like left my party behind and was like, I'm scanning this code, get out of my way. We're getting in. And we did. So it was awesome.
How was the food?
It was good. I liked it. I wouldn't say it was anything phenomenal or like, I wouldn't necessarily have to eat there every time. It's a little bit more elevated than your typical theme park food, but nothing hardcore to write home about. Definitely more so about the immersion of what it's like. It reminds me a little bit, maybe kind of a far-fetched analogy or comparison, but to be our guest actually at Magic Kingdom, because there's different things going on outside the windows. There's like thunderstorms that happen while you're inside there. So it's really, really immersive, which is cool.
Fun fact, Taylor used to be a waitress at Be Our Guest.
What up?
I was, yes, 5 years ago now, but yes.
Were you part of the DCP?
Yes, I did the college program.
Oh, fun.
Yes, so former cast member, definitely have a unique perspective of Disney World in particular with that being said. So yes, so to compare Universal to Be Our Guest, that's quite the big thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
What at Universal Hollywood did you do that isn't at Universal Orlando?
Sure. So there's a little bit of a different spin on the Jurassic Park River Adventure that we know and love at Orlando's park at Islands of Adventure. So it's Jurassic World out there. I love the Jurassic World franchise. I think they've done a really great job with that. So I really liked that attraction. I don't necessarily think it needs to come here because I like the idea of us drawing different crowds to both coasts because I think that makes them unique. So that was really cool. There was some really awesome theming as you were going through before you went up the hill and, of course, came back down in the flume area. So that was cool. Definitely the studio tour. I really can't talk about that enough. I know that would not be everyone's cup of tea, especially if you're more of the thrill, a junkie type of thing or adrenaline junkie. I love stuff like that. I definitely am a sucker for all the slow rides as much as I also love the thrill stuff too, because I like to get a little bit of both. So I thought that was just a really unique thing that you truly can't do anywhere else, especially now because we don't have that experience at Hollywood Studios at Disney World anymore. So it was also extra cool while I was out there because they were celebrating an anniversary. So we were actually able to get off of the tram during the tour and take some pictures with different props that you usually wouldn't be able to do because usually you're just on the tram for the whole hour and that's it. So I have pictures with Jaws and pictures with cars from Fast and Furious and with Kong and all sorts of stuff like that. So it was definitely cool just to go during that time as well.
I would so do that.
It's
That's
so
the
fun.
one thing I'd be so excited to do at Universal Hollywood
Yeah.
is the studio tour.
Yeah, it was definitely cool. And I also liked, do you actually get the Express Pass just for that one attraction included with the Super Nintendo World early entry ticket? So there's an extra perk to that as well. So you get in the park early and able to get into that specific land, and you get that faster entrance to the tram tour. So
That tram tour can get some long waits. I've seen it, an hour wait during the day, and it's a loved attraction, and well deserved to be that long of a wait. I agree with you. It's something I have to do when I go out there. It's just so fun, and I'm missing the 60th, so seeing like Doc Brown and the DeLorean in the Port Square, I'm like, man, I need to go out there and see that, and I won't be able to.
In Bates Motel, they had an actor out there who was, going around. We had the knife action going on, all sorts of stuff that you definitely won't get outside of the anniversary that they're celebrating. So that was honestly one of the biggest highlights for me, is just being able to experience that.
So we'll touch on it next episode. But during HHN out there, you get out at Bates Motel and you walk by and they have everybody right there, and it's a scare zone. But then you go up to the house and I can't even remember his name off the top of my head, but he's standing there, and it's great. You get pictures with him, and it's fun.
Norman
yeah,
Bates?
Norman.
Yeah.
Norman, right? That's the guy that was walking around when we were out there. It was during the day, obviously, so it wasn't designed to be scary, but it was cool to kind of see one of the sets, so to speak, come to life a little bit. But
he does chase the tram like during the tour, so it is kind of a little spooky-ish. Like, oh, is this guy going to get me? But it's all safe. And then there's not always, but there's filming happening. So you never know what type of tour you're going to get. We've been on a couple where we've missed, like, Desperate Housewives, that road. They've cut that road off for us because they were filming down it and we couldn't see anything. So it's an active studio, which is something you don't get from, any other theme park around, whether it was MGM, now Hollywood Studios, or even Universal Studios Orlando. All that stuff is tucked behind the scenes. So Hollywood, it's all front and center for you. They'll tell you to be quiet on the tour because you're running through an active production.
I was just going to add that if you have little ones, perhaps that you're traveling with, that would not like to sit still for an hour and could not respect the quiet on set notification, maybe not the best attraction for you, because there are several places where they will request that for sure, because they are filming and they want to make sure that you don't have that background noise.
Did you get to see Waterworld?
I did get to see Waterworld.
See, I'm jealous.
It was the very ending of our day. That once again, I was said to myself, this is different. We don't have this at home type of thing. I have to make sure that we get this done. And it was a little hard to follow. I'm not going to lie, because I have not seen the Waterworld film. So that being said, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what it was about. I ended up looking up more information about it after the fact, because that's what I do. I love to research things. But it was really cool. They had a lot of good stuff.
Is that a show? Is the Waterworld a show? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like an action special effects show. So definitely the best part of it, I'll spoil it if anyone, wants to know what it's like. But there's a plane that comes out at the end. That's one of those like seaplanes, and it lands like right in front of the audience. And there's fireworks that come out of it, and water is of course splashed up everywhere. So that's kind of the special finale at the end that you're staying for.
That sounds exciting.
I've wanted to see it. I've missed it. So
definitely worth seeing.
So what were some of the rides that you did that are that have the same from Orlando to Hollywood, that have like the same name but maybe aren't the same or slightly different? What did you think about those?
Sure. So starting down in the lower lot, so that's of course where you'll find Super Nintendo World. That's also where Transformers, the ride 3D is. That was identical to what we have in Orlando. So I still went on it just because I had the time for it. Just because I've gone on these rides in Orlando, being a pass holder for several years, there was maybe like a couple things I noticed, like, oh, there was a missing water effect here, or the flames didn't come out like they usually do at home, so to speak. But other than that, completely the same. Revenge of the Mummy, that's one of my favorite rides here in Orlando. And boy, is it not the same in Hollywood. And I will not say in a bad way. I know it usually gets a bad rap out there because it's shorter. It definitely is. But my jaw was dropped the entire time. It felt faster. It felt more intense. It just felt so much more like a roller coaster, like a traditional one, compared to more of like the combination of dark ride with roller coaster that we have at Universal Studios Florida. So I wish that I had purchased the picture that it takes on that one, because my face is just completely jaw dropped. I couldn't contain myself. I was screaming the entire time. I love a good roller coaster. So to see how much more intense it was out there was definitely a highlight. Jurassic Park, like I said already, is Jurassic World out there. Same exact style of ride, but the theme is different. They have Despicable Me, Minion Mayhem, moving up to our upper lot now. That's identical except the queue. So that's a little bit different, just some different things to see. The Simpsons ride, exactly the same. I went on it. I don't totally love that ride over here, but once again, I went on it over there. The queue's a little bit different. The ride's identical, so not my favorite part of the day.
You're a better person than me. I cannot stand Simpsons in Orlando. I walked through Springfield. I like it out there. I like their Springfield a lot better than ours. Besides Duff Gardens, I like our Duff Gardens better. But I was like, I'm not touching Simpsons. I'm not going to go on it. I don't. It's like you said. I know it's the same thing.
I went on it once with my kids, and I was almost punched over a trash can. Like I got so motion sick from that. So I will never go on that ride. You can't even Dramamine me up. I will not go on that.
My cousin made me wait an hour and a half in line for it, and we got off, and we waited an hour and a half for that. Like, that's what we waited an hour and a half for. And he was like, yeah, we have to ride it. I was like, no. We had so many other things we could have done besides that.
Yeah.
It's definitely not the smoothest ride, and especially just with its age. I mean, it's now outlived its predecessor, obviously, that it replaced, Back to the Future, out here in Orlando. So its time is done, in my personal opinion. It's not my favorite. If you love The Simpsons, I get it. But yeah, it's identical out there. So if you don't like it here in Orlando, don't go on it out there. The Wizard.
Solid advice.
Rachel's going to go out there and ride it, be like, I love it out there, but I hate it in Orlando.
Not going to happen.
Yeah.
They do have Harry Potter out in Hollywood too, which I know a lot of people would be really excited about, of course. It is only a little bit of it, though, however, compared to what we have in Orlando. So it's pretty much just the original stuff that we had out here in Orlando. So you have the Hogwarts Castle, of course. It's the Hogsmeade section, but we don't have Hagrid's out there, which was later added on, obviously, to Hogsmeade in Orlando. They do have the family coaster out there, Flight of the Hippogriff. I didn't go on it. It's the same. I don't need to do it twice type of thing.
Wait, you went on The Simpsons, which is the same ride, but you didn't go on Flight of the Hippogriff, which is the same ride?
Nope. Cannot justify over an hour wait for a 32-second ride.
I would do that. I would do Flight of Hippogriff before Simpsons.
Yep. It was not in my agenda for the day. I do really like the attraction that's out there, Forbidden Journey, of course. I love that. I know that's definitely one that people are prone to motion sickness on. So if you do struggle with that, please stay away from that ride. It's definitely a rough one. I know many a friend, many family member that cannot do it. It was a one and done for them. It's my favorite of all of the Harry Potter rides that Universal has. That was definitely a must do for me.
I've never been on it, and I will never be on it because I know how sick it can make people.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. There's not really any other attraction I've ever been on to all the theme parks that I've been to in my life that feels anything like it. So it's pretty unique, but it does a good job simulating what it needs to do. So it's a good one for sure. I think that rounds out everything. Kids section, like I said, they have Minions. The Secret Life of Pets is out there. Very slow moving, really impressive ride. I love a good audio animatronic. I'm a nerd like that. There's some really good ones in there. The theming is great. So I thought
it's a good ride overall.
For the kids. Yeah, definitely a good one.
A couple mentions, Fast and Furious. We got the stupid ride in Orlando, the Supercharged, but it's actually part of the tram tour out there. And they just decided to put a whole show building and make it a ride in Orlando for some reason. It's just as bad out there in the tram as it is in Orlando. The only difference is you have to go on it when you're on the tram. You can't just jump out. King Kong is also on the tram tour, and it's good, but ours is better to me because they've actually fleshed out a big, good story to it. But that's the original ideas for both those rides came from the tram tour.
Yeah, they still have Jaws as part of the studio tour as well, which of course we don't have in Orlando anymore. So that obviously has been replaced by Diagon Alley for Harry Potter. So they do still have that out there. It's not a full show building run through by any means, but you see Jaws. It's pretty cool. And then one of the show buildings, my tour actually did not go through, which I was most upset about because I miss earthquake and disaster so much out here in Orlando. And I know that that's what that building was, is you go through on the tram tour, of course, and it simulates what an earthquake is like. I loved that attraction. I loved how interactive it was out here in Orlando. So I was very sad to not see that, but I know that's what I missed, of course. So definitely make sure if you miss anything, you go again if you have time.
Talking about size for a second, with the Despicable Me and the Minions area, it's fun to think because they're trying to do as much as they can in such a small space. They don't want to destroy the studios, so they can keep that active production. The Silly Land, whatever it's called, in Despicable Me, is built on top of a parking garage. So you're actually walking on top of the parking garage to do all these little flat rides and run through and whatnot. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's actually something that you can see also if you stay at the Sheraton or the Hilton that are right next to Universal. I know I think we had floor to ceiling windows anyway in the room that I was in. You open up the curtains and you could see the Hogwarts castle and you could see the ginormous minion that's painted on the side of the parking garage and all the attractions above it. So nice to be able to see that stuff out of your window that you don't have to pay a really pretty price tag for, like you would for a theme park view room if you were staying at Disney World. So definitely a major difference too, just in terms of accommodations.
Something else I want to mention, their ticket structure is a lot different out there. You can get your Express Pass built into your ticket. It's still all date based, but you're not paying an arm and a leg for Express Pass.
Well, I wonder if it's the part of it is because like they do have like fewer rides, like overall, like it is a smaller park, so it is fewer rides. So maybe that's why it's cheaper, and they know people are only going to come basically for one day if they're in the area visiting other attractions like Disneyland or Hollywood itself.
But I feel like if there was less rides, the lines would be longer, so they would charge more to use that service. But you're very nice about it. Oh, they're trying to accommodate the people that are only going out for one day. You know, they don't care.
I don't make money.
I mean, they do want to make money, yeah. But I mean, and does most rides have Express Pass access?
Yeah, I think every ride has Express Pass access.
Okay, because even like in Orlando, like Hagrid's doesn't have Express Pass. Like there's rides that don't have Express. Is that the only one that doesn't have Express Pass in Orlando? So I mean, there at least like everything does, and like a big ticket ride like Hagrid's, you would think they would try to, I don't know, figure out the Express Pass, turn that single rider line into Express Pass or something there to kind of bring that in.
The way one of the VIPs I've taken at Universal talked about was that it might be a contract with rolling with Harry Potter stuff, because it took so long for the other Harry Potter stuff to get Express, that's why Hagrid's doesn't have it yet. It's because it has to be open for so many years or something like that.
That makes sense. Because, I mean, Velocicoaster, it opened with Express Pass, right? Or at least very shortly after.
Yeah, it was like 6 months after.
Yeah.
Now, do you feel like the entire park is doable in one day going out there? Is that just jam-packing the day? Or you think it's just the average person can go out there and enjoy the park in one day?
Yeah, I agree. It's a one day for sure. And I don't think I missed anything except for Flight of the Hippogriff that I can do in Orlando, of course, with my annual pass. They are offering a special offer right now with the tickets where you buy one day and get one free. So I think that's a great opportunity for anyone that wants to stop and smell the roses a little bit more than I chose to. I knew that I only had one day there, but I also went on a weekday. So I think that made a big difference just in terms of crowd levels. They do offer annual passes out there as well. So I'm sure more of the local crowds would be around on the weekends. So that is something to keep in mind for anyone that is going out there to visit. I wanted to make sure I did everything, but I also knew that I only wanted to do one day. That way I could do Disneyland Resort as well. So it is doable for the average person or the person that wants to do absolutely everything. Because I think I was there until maybe like dinner time or so, and I did.
Oh, I wanted to ask if you felt the wait times were equivalent to Orlando.
So I thought that they were a little shorter, to be honest. Like I said, that could just be because I was there on a weekday. When I visit here, I usually am there on a weekend, just because I do have an annual pass and I can kind of go at my leisure whenever. But I did feel like I was overall waiting less time out there, which is really nice because we don't really get that too much here.
I went there at lunch both times I've been. Like, we've gone out at lunch, come through and done all the rides we wanted to before we left, like at 6 or something. So we spent 6, maybe 7 hours in the park. And then the day I went for HHN, I got early entry, so I did 2 hours worth of stuff in the park, and I was fine. So you don't need the whole 2 or 3 days to explore everything unless you just really want to, snail pace, go through every store, ride every ride 6 times to find all the small details.
Had I not eaten at Toadstool Cafe, that definitely took up a chunk of time and waited around to be able to see Waterworld before I left, I would have been done around the same time as well. Those 2 things definitely prolonged it. So if they're not priorities to you and all you want to do is ride rides, then totally doable by lunchtime, like barely a half a day.
Wow.
And their city walk, we haven't touched on it, but they have a city walk just like ours. I kind of like their city walk better. I had a friend from California that came out last year and said ours is superior because of how lively and big it is. I'm like, but yours just feels more alive.
What are the similarities between the two? Do they have some of the same restaurants and stuff like that?
They do. So they have, I would say the majority is the same in terms of the offerings that they have for shopping and dining. I like the layout more. That's really what did it for me. It's just like all a straight line. You don't have to like go around curves. You don't have to walk across the lake. You don't have to go upstairs. It's just in a line. You get in there and you go left or right type of thing. So it's pretty impossible to miss anything if you were to spend a significant amount of time in there. But they have Vivo, they have Voodoo Donut, they have an AMC theater. I think it's AMC. Maybe it's Regal, I'm not sure, but they pretty much have everything that Orlando does, just laid out nicer, in my opinion.
Do they have a Toothsome Chocolate Emporium too?
Yes.
Okay.
They just opened it when we went out there, I think. So it's really new to their city walk. But if it's, I think the only original restaurant that Universal Orlando has that they don't is NBC Grill, and I might be wrong on that.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that out there.
If you had to choose only one to go to, which one would you choose?
That's a hard question. I know, like I said, I think overall the experience at Universal Hollywood was better. I think if I could only do one for the rest of my life, it would still be Orlando, just because there's more. It's more of that full vacation destination. I can spend several days there. They have Volcano Bay, which I absolutely love for a water theme park. It's just a half-day park out there. So for me personally, it wouldn't be enough to get me to fly the entirety of the country just to go out there and do that. I would always pair it with Disneyland Resort or other Hollywood area attractions like I did before I went to Disneyland. But yeah, I'd stick with Orlando if I could only do one.
Yeah, and we've touched on it before. It feels like since they're so constricted on what they can do, there's always been rumors about destroying some of the studio tour for Diagon Alley. They've had to destroy the animal actors and one of the other stunt shows so that they can start building this Fast and Furious coaster. So it feels like, they don't have the space, and Orlando has bought space. They can't buy any space out in Hollywood. And it's, since it's on the side of a mountain.
Everything about Orlando has learned from California, right? So Anaheim, very constricted space for Disneyland. Hollywood, very constricted space for Universal. So we definitely have the ability to have more out here just because we've learned from those space constraints, I would say. Because those parks were all there first.
Well, if we don't have anything else with Universal, I'm going to throw it to Terry for a short ad from our sponsor.
Are you dreaming of your next adventure but overwhelmed by planning? Magical Travel has you covered. With over 22 years in the business, we specialize in Disney destinations, Universal Studios, cruise vacations, and all-inclusive resort getaways. Our services are 100% complimentary when you book a vacation package with one of our knowledgeable agents. Request a free quote to start the planning process at magicaltravel.com. Mention our podcast to be connected with one of our agents you are listening to if you like what you hear.
Okay, so welcome back. Universal Hollywood is in LA. That's about a 60-minute car ride from Anaheim. In reality, it's like a 20-mile drive, but because of LA traffic, it's always a pain in the butt. So that's where we're going to go now, is to Disneyland, and talk about what's the difference with Disneyland and Disney World. What are pros, cons there? How to get back and forth first. So Taylor, how did you get back and forth?
So we rented a car, and the reason for that was we wanted to do all of the touristy Hollywood stuff the day that we landed. So I took an early morning flight into LAX. I will never do that again. I wish I listened to everyone that told me not to fly into LAX. I would not recommend it. So picked up a rental car at LAX, did sightseeing around Hollywood that day, did Universal the next day, and then we drove to Disneyland that night. The drive wasn't awful if you're used to traffic. Now, I mentioned I live in Tampa, Florida. I'm very used to traffic. I drive on I-4, obviously, to get between Tampa and Orlando. But if you are not a traffic person, I would not recommend doing a rental car and driving yourself, because there's other options, of course.
Yeah, it's about the same distance from where I work to where I live, from Universal to the Disneyland. And I hate it going out there because I'm not used to traffic. 30 minutes, I'm at work, sitting in my car, ready to go in. I'm not even halfway to Disneyland if I'm 30 minutes in the car. Where did you stay at Disneyland?
So we stayed at Disneyland Hotel. I wanted to do something on site just so I had a comparison for myself and for future clients, of course, to know what it was like to stay on site at Disneyland Resort compared to staying on site at Walt Disney World. That's always my preference here at Disney World, so I wanted to see what that was like out there. I loved Disneyland Hotel. There's nothing like it in Orlando. I would say the best comparison, it's kind of like a weird combination of the Contemporary and the Polynesian, maybe. That's the closest that I would give it. I think it gives similar vibes just with Trader Sam's being out there, obviously, as the Polynesian, the Contemporary. Not the rooms necessarily, but just the towers. Obviously, we don't have a ton of towers at Walt Disney World for on-site hotels, but I loved it. The fireworks and the headboard definitely sold me. I kept them on all night long. They were wonderful. The rooms were great. The views were great. And it was maybe like a 10 to 15 minute walk to the front entrances to both of the theme parks, depending on how fast or slow you obviously walk, which was really cool. The Disneyland monorail is also very, very close to Disneyland Hotel. So if you were going into Disneyland Park for the day, you can hop on the monorail, of course, as long as you have a ticket. That is a huge difference between Disney World and Disneyland, is you cannot step foot onto that monorail unless you have a ticket out in California, whereas you can go on it just to take a joyride, obviously, in Disney World. So I really like the proximity. I would definitely stay there again. Yeah, it was great. It was very magical.
That's where I stayed when I was in California at the Disneyland Hotel, and I loved it. Like, quick walk right to the theme parks. The headboards, that was like I wish they did that like all the resorts. Even like as an adult, I loved it. I think it's such a great selling feature for kids. The only downside, I would say, compared to Orlando, is that there was no balconies. I mean, certain room categories have balconies, but like the standard does not have a balcony, which I did miss that feature of being at a higher end resort. But the proximity to the parks and just a quick walk and, Trader Sam's, I thought that's such a fun place to be at night. So
I was missing a balcony as well, for sure. For the deluxe price point, that's an amenity that we're used to having at Disney World that they don't have out there. I do believe now with the villas at Disneyland Hotel that just recently opened, they do have several rooms that have balconies, not all of them, but there's more accessibility to those if that's important for anyone.
Well, if the fireworks and the headboards are important to y'all, the studios don't have them. When I stayed there this past month or this past year, they weren't there. That was like a kind of disappointment. They're nice rooms, but there wasn't anything like that. It kind of bland. I've stayed Disneyland Hotel, but I've also stayed offsite. That's the really cool thing about Disneyland to me, is that their offsite hotels are just as easy to walk to and from the parks. When you talk about offsite at Walt Disney World, you're like, all right, how far am I going to have to drive? We've stayed at Fairfield Inn and Grand Legacy that are in Harbor, and it's both of those are like 5-minute walks. It's great. You have fast food all over that place, so you can walk out and go grab something if you want to be a little bit cheaper. My wife loves Cold Stone, so we don't have one local. We go over there. It's on the way to and from Grand Legacy, so we usually stop through and get something on the way back to the room. So the price point for them is about the same price point of the value resorts here. So that's going to be your cheaper option staying on Harbor. But like I said, it's just as easy to walk. But I do like staying on site. I've stayed at Disneyland Hotel 2 or 3 times now and loved every time I've stayed there. The Trader Sam's, like you said, sitting inside, sitting outside, it's great.
This is a cool vibe.
Laid back. Usually they have live music. So it's nice if you're sitting outside. Inside, we've only done a couple times, but
When I was there in 22, I was there with a friend and we stayed at the Grand Californian, and it has its own entrance into California Adventure. And that was so nice to have in the morning for their early entry to be able to get there. Cause we were like right on the front, like for rope drop for Avengers Campus to go into there. And it was just so nice. Like there was we got to the security checkpoint to go in, and we were only like the second people there, and there wasn't that many people in line to go into the park, and it didn't feel like that typical mad dash that sometimes you get at rope drop. Like everyone just kind of casually walked to where they wanted to go, and it was so nice. Like if it was in the middle of the day, because we went straight into the parks after flying from the East Coast, and we wanted to go take a break in the middle of the day, and it was just so convenient to have its own entrance to just go in, go up to our room, take a little bit of a break, and then be able to just kind of hop right back into the park. It has very much of like a wilderness lodge. Yeah. Like when we walked in, I was just like, it's so pretty. Like it was really nice. They had someone in there playing piano, kind of like at the Grand Floridian. They had someone in there playing piano. And it was beautiful. We didn't actually eat there. We actually walked over to Disneyland Hotel and ate at Goofy's Kitchen one of the nights for one of the character breakfasts or dinners. And then we pretty much just ate in the parks because we were so close. So we just kind of stayed in the parks the rest of the time.
I will say as a pro tip for the entrance at the Grand Californian, you don't have to be staying there to use it. So where it lets you into California Adventure is in the Grizzly Peak area, which if you go on Grizzly River Run and you get soaking wet, like I did, you don't have to walk through the entirety of California Adventure and all through downtown Disney District to get back to Disneyland Hotel in your wet clothes with your wet shoes. You can just walk through the Grand Californian because the entrance to it is right at the exit of that attraction, and you're so much closer to get back to Disneyland Hotel. So that was really nice because who wants to walk around obviously in wet clothes? I knew what I was getting myself in for, of course, but it was nice to have a bit of a shortcut.
That is good to know that you don't have to be staying there to use that entrance or to like go in and out. I didn't even realize that when we were there. We just scanned our tickets, going in and out.
I will say positive of the security at Disneyland is that it's all confined. So as soon as you walk through security one time, you don't have to walk through it again unless you leave. So when you go into downtown Disney or you come into the Esplanade, you're there. You can walk wherever you want to walk. You don't have to worry about it. As soon as you leave a park at Walt Disney World, you're going back into a security gate, or if you're on the monorail doing a bar crawl, you have to get through security on all those. So that's nice. Just being able to, that has that universal Orlando feel of being able to walk in and just not worry about having to deal with security for the rest of the day.
Definitely makes everything feel more accessible. Like the distances aren't very far. You don't have to worry about transportation. There isn't even transportation available if you wanted it. You're just walking for many of the on-site hotels. If you do stay off-site, a lot of them do offer shuttles, but most of them are within walking distance anyway, if you didn't want to have to rely on any of that. So more of the college campus feel like we definitely know and love with Universal Orlando.
Yeah, and the off-site isn't just exclusive shuttles either. I think they use ART a lot, so the Anaheim Resort Transportation. So it's going to make multiple stops before it gets to Disneyland. So that's something to think about too. Is that walking distance is always going to be a better perk. Which one do you want to go to first, California Adventure or Disneyland?
Let's do Disneyland first, just because that's the park that I did first. So we'll go there.
Okay. What were your thoughts walking in and seeing their castle for the first time?
So I went out on this trip with my best friend who has done a lot of Disney with me, and I had him record my reaction to seeing the castle for the first time because I've heard, of course, it's so small and it's so much smaller than Cinderella Castle at Magic Kingdom, and it is exactly that. It is so small. I wear glasses for distance. I feel like I need them on to see the castle. It's so far away. It's so tiny, but it's almost cute and quaint. I think once again, when I came home, everyone is asking, well, what do you like better, Disneyland or Magic Kingdom, Disneyland, Disney World? You really can't compare the two. I feel like with Universal and Orlando and Hollywood, you can pick a favorite. You really just can't if you're as much of a diehard Disney fanatic as I am. There's just something so grand about Disney World. That's the word that I've been using this entire time, versus Disneyland is just nostalgic. And this was the first time I went as an adult. So it's not like I have memories from a little kid or anything like that, like I do at Magic Kingdom. It was just a whole different vibe. So seeing that castle for the first time, like I had tears in my eyes, as I would because Walt's walked these streets type of thing, but it is tiny. Definitely have that realistic expectation that it is no Cinderella Castle by any means.
Did you go in the castle?
I did go in the castle. So you don't have to have some 60-day out reservation for Cinderella's Royal Table to go into the castle at Disneyland. They have a whole walkthrough that tells the story of Sleeping Beauty, which I thought was really cool. It's almost like they have dioramas inside there. So the windows, they'll have Maleficent that you can see, and you can see Sleeping Beauty. So it was really cool just to be able to walk up inside. It is a lot of stairs, so definitely something to keep in mind if you're not super mobile in that way. And it is pretty dark in there also, so just some FYIs, but really unique experience that we don't have anything like here.
I think when we walked in for the first time, I went on my first trip by myself. I sat in the hub for a little bit, just enjoyed everything. I got that rope drop and just people watched and let it all kind of soak in because I knew I could go at my own pace for that day. And just like you said, Walt walked in these streets. He sat on these benches and did all that. So as a huge Disney fan at the time, it was just like I needed that to just soak it in for a little bit and enjoy it.
My friend kind of did the same thing when we turned the corner. She's like, close your eyes. I want you to like open your eyes when we get on Main Street so you can see the castle. I want to see your reaction. I remember I just opened my eyes and I went, it's so tiny. Like, it's so cute.
Where's
She's
it
like,
at?
yeah. And we just sat, like, we kind of did what Jason did. We got a corn dog from that red cart or whatever and just ate a corn dog and just sat on the curb and just sat there for probably 40 minutes just taking in Disneyland just to see, because we're like, she had been there once before and I never have, and she was just letting me just enjoy it and have fun.
Those corn dogs are the best.
They're so good. And they have mobile order, which was even better. We mobile ordered and got them, so it was really nice. And the Starbucks is right there, and the ice cold water from in there was perfect.
Oh, I think I ate like 4 or 5 of those corn dogs this last trip. I love it.
We got corn dogs at Corn Dog Kingdom in California Adventure the next day.
Not the same. That red trolley, I think it is, red wagon.
Mm-hmm.
That's the peak.
So
peak
good.
Corn dog.
Well, I like how you said that like Disneyland made you nostalgic, even though it was your first trip, because and I've never been there, but one of the things I love Disneyland's branding, like their font and the diamonds that they put, the letters. Everything, like when you see, and I'm not a big logo person on shirts, but everyone I see that I want to buy is Disneyland and not Disney World. And in your brain, you don't know why. And like you said, I've never visited there. Like you said, you've never been there, but I just feel like it harkens back more of like the childhood memories of Disney. I don't know. I thought that was cool that you said that, because I feel the same way about, I want their merch, even though I've never even been there. I want to order that because I like the way that looks better than the Disney World branding.
And Disneyland obviously has been around since 1955, and a lot of it still feels like it's 1955. I think what was most shocking to me that I still like laugh about thinking back to it is I did all of the original attractions first. I didn't go rope drop the Matterhorn. I didn't go rope drop Rise of the Resistance and Galaxy's Edge. I wanted to do what was there since day one first without any waits. So when you go and do the Pinocchio ride or the Snow White ride or Mr. Toad's, there is nothing stopping you from walking right out into the track of that attraction. Like we're used to,
Oh, wow.
let's say at the Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, you have the little automatic gate that opens up when they hit the button that the ride vehicle is there. There is none of that at those 4 original attractions right behind Sleeping Beauty Castle. You could keep walking if you wanted to and get run over by the ride vehicle for all that they care, because they didn't have those kinds of requirements in 1955, I guess. So it was just really cool to see how different they would just do everything about the ride experience, because that's very different from what we know about Guardians of the Galaxy, Cosmic Rewind, or things that are so new for us now that are completely different.
And being all like 2D cardboard, it almost seems like. I mean, it's more sturdy than that, but the fact that you're waiting to ride Mr. Toad's and it's nothing compared to what we have now with like Rise or Mickey and Minnie's or anything like that, it just brings a little bit more joy to me, I think. Like going through those older rides just because of what they are. It's that's the money they had.
Yeah, even with Alice in Wonderland, I mean, who goes on a dark ride that's 2 floors and goes outside? You know, we don't have anything like that over here in Orlando.
And that goes to their space. You know, that ride goes up on the 2nd floor because it has to go over Mr. Toad. And if it's quiet enough in some of the scenes, you can hear the Mr. Toad ride below you, which is pretty cool if you ever get to experience it.
And it gets really hot in one of those rooms because you're above the room. Is it where he's like in hell or something like that on there? And it's really hot in that room when you're on the Alice in Wonderland ride.
So what other attractions out there in Disneyland in the actual park did you enjoy that we don't have in Orlando?
So not that I necessarily enjoyed it, but I think there's something to be said for the Matterhorn bobsleds. So this was the very first steel roller coaster ever. You can tell. It does not feel like any other roller coaster that you've been on. I love a good roller coaster, like I've said earlier. But I also felt like I needed a chiropractor by the end of it. So that was a one and done for me personally, as much of a roller coaster person as I am. So yeah, if you're going out there and you want a nice smooth ride, it's definitely not that. But what I will say, kind of in the opposite direction, Space Mountain is very, very smooth.
So much better than our Space Mountain. I loved that Space Mountain.
It's very rickety here at Magic Kingdom in Disney World, and it's so smooth out there. I love Space Mountain. It's one of my favorite rides, even with how rickety it is here. But totally different experience out there. The ride vehicles are different, so I thought that was cool. The Finding Nemo submarine voyage ride, very, very unique in Disneyland. Not for everyone. If you're someone who gets claustrophobic or just in general doesn't really prefer being really uptight next to other people, probably not the ride for you. But we don't have anything like that anymore, at least, of course, here at Disney World, since we don't have 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. So that was really cool just to be able to see, once again, a concept that is so original for Disney that still exists in some way out there. So those were all the things that I really prioritized. And for most people that would go out there and do all of the big thrill rides, but they were important for me just because I knew that they were original. And they're so different, of course, from what we have in Orlando.
Did you go into Toontown?
I did. Toontown was very fun because I missed that area of Magic Kingdom very much so. I think the placement of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway out there is perfect because it fits so well. I really enjoyed the queue because I know how different that is, of course, from our version at Disney World at Hollywood Studios. The ride is identical, though, so if you're someone that's not trying to double dip at all, it's not one that should really be a priority for you, but the queue definitely makes it worth it to check out.
Actually, at Magic Kingdom when I was little, one of the things I remember the most was visiting Minnie Mouse's house, and that's not there anymore, and it was just like, I don't know, it made me sad as an adult that it wasn't there, but it is at Disneyland, so you could always go out there and see it.
Yeah, it's a really big space out there as well, though it does get very crowded, and I'm a childless adult, so it was not an area that I spent a ton of time in just because it was just so much, of course, with the kids running around, because there's just a lot of like downtime to be had back there, which is nice, like a lot of play areas and benches for moms and dads to sit. There's some good food options back there as well, so definitely a spot that's tucked away at the very back of the park. So it's nice that it kind of has its whole own area, just like what Storybook Circus is now for us at Magic Kingdom.
I have to plan another trip because it was under refurbishment when we were there, so we didn't get to go into Toontown. So we didn't get to experience that while we were there.
Did you try Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin, whatever it's called?
I did. I can't say it's my favorite ride. It's not super memorable. Like, I couldn't even tell you what was so great about it right now, but yes, I did go on it.
It is good to note too that that land closes right before the fireworks start, and then it won't open for the rest of the night. Get your time in. It's beautiful at night, but you gotta get it before the fireworks. Small World's right there too. Did you enjoy their Small World better than ours in Florida?
I did. I think it is so cool how they added all of the Disney characters inside, which I'm sure for any like Mary Blair fanatics out there, they probably hate that because it's not original anymore. But I really liked it, especially because the characters that they chose fit or match with the country that each part of Small World is representing. So I thought that was fun just to look for them throughout.
Well, and they kind of blend in seamlessly, though. Like, you do need to look for them when you're in there and stuff. And it's just kind of like Taylor said, they put the right characters in the right countries to where it is just like, it's just part of that story as you're going through the ride.
And they're in the style. Like, the dolls are in the style of the Small World dolls. So it's not like you're seeing, what a plush of Mickey would look like or something like that.
Because if I remember right, they had like Aladdin on the magic carpet, like flying around the ceiling and stuff. Like, I don't know. That was my favorite part of being on it, was looking for those Disney characters that were in the different rooms.
Yeah, that's something you can use with the kids. It's like, hey, look for the Disney characters. And if they don't want to listen to It's a Small World 17,000 times like I don't, then gives them something else to look at. What other of the Orlando / Walt Disney World Magic Kingdom rides did you ride over in Disneyland? Like maybe like Haunted Mansion?
Yeah, so unfortunately, Haunted Mansion was down for refurbishment during my visit, which I was very upset about because Haunted Mansion is in my top 3 favorite attractions for Magic Kingdom. So I unfortunately didn't get to experience that. But a couple other attractions that are over there that I was really impressed by, but also confused by, I will say. We'll address the confusion first. Jungle Cruise. That's my absolute favorite. I love it at Magic Kingdom. I could tell you the entire script. If I was to be a cast member again, that's what I would want to do. And they just don't hype it up in Disneyland like we do here. It doesn't offer a lightning lane. The line's not really very long, which is great for me because I was able to go on and not have to wait a long time. But it just doesn't seem to have the hype over there as it does here, rather. So that left me a little confused. Pirates, though, is the opposite. So Pirates is absolutely incredible in Disneyland. The whole facade of the show building that it's in is very different from what we're used to at Magic Kingdom. And it's also like double the length. I always remember saying long. That, but I didn't believe it necessarily until I was in there and I was like, oh my gosh, the ride hasn't even really started yet.
And there are 2 drops.
Like our ride at Magic Kingdom, you go down the drop, obviously, and you exit the ride before the boat goes back up. Well, you stay on the boat and go back up another hill at Disneyland in their version. And there's a whole restaurant that's inside there, Blue Bayou Restaurant, which is a sit-down opportunity. So very, very lengthy, which I liked. That was really cool just to see how different it was. But Jungle Cruise, that was a little bit of a letdown for me.
I'll say this right quick. Since you mentioned Lightning Lane, that's the best thing about Disneyland to me is that not every attraction in the Disneyland park has Lightning Lane. So your Peter Pan, Mr. Toad, Jungle Cruise, usually Pirates doesn't. But Snow White,
Alice in Wonderland,
Alice, they just don't have it. So what you see on a wait time is what you're getting. And it's great because you'll get into a ride without having to make the plans to get on the ride. But I'm with you. I really love Pirates. I think that's probably my favorite ride out there for the history with the Walt of him being that's the last attraction he worked on. But it's just a really good ride. But I do like Jungle Cruise out there better than Walt Disney World's.
Is it the same script out there that it is here, or is it completely different?
It's not completely different, but it's not completely the same because the whole there's not a temple scene out there.
Okay.
Different areas laid out different. They have a tiger scene that we don't have. There's a fun story though of when it first opened that, Walt's apartment butts up against the Jungle Cruise, and that his kids would go out and play in the woods right there and kind of mess around with the Jungle Cruise guest going through. So that's something fun that I always remember going on there. But I like going on it at night. It just seems different and better at night than the Walt Disney World version.
I was in Walt's apartment and I was up on that, like, I guess it's like a fire escape almost. And you could see back and see the track of Jungle Cruise. Walt's
apartment's great. I'm going to go off on this one. Like being able to, like, we're in Walt's park and being able to stand in Walt's apartment. And that's just
I just love how they kept it. And, that little kitchenette area and the bathroom is just so, like, it's just like walking into a time capsule. I like that they kept it like that.
We didn't get to go outside. I think they were doing something outside that we couldn't go on. It was just nice. Just being, like I said, when I got in there that first trip, sitting and being in the presence type thing, being able to stand in his apartment, knowing that this is where this man just relaxed with his family, it was just kind of cool. But Haunted Mansion, since Taylor didn't get to do it.
I was on it when it was the holiday Haunted Mansion, because I went in December, and I thought that was great because it's all, so it was all Nightmare Before Christmas themed, and I just love the Oogie Boogie and just how they added that whole theming into the current ride. The outdoor queue is so neat. Like, they have the Christmas list and then, like, the clock, and it was just... like, just being in there, I just thought that queue was really cool.
And then the ride itself, like, is different enough from Florida. So Florida has the scene where you're actually going through the library, whatnot. All that is before, like, the portrait gallery, the library. You walk past that in Disneyland. I'm just trying to rub it into Taylor that she didn't get to ride it.
I guess I'm just going to have to go back another time.
You are. I mean, but it's so different, but still unique and like the same feel. So you know what you're going to get when you go in there, and you're going to have that same feeling of the Haunted Mansion. What'd you think of California Adventure?
So I know California Adventure has had a very rocky, to say the least, reception and just introduction to the Disney parks lineup. I really enjoyed it. I'm not going to sit here and say that I liked it more than Disneyland Park, because Magic Kingdom will always be my favorite here. Disneyland Park is a very close second to that now. But I really enjoyed it. I think all of the changes that they've made over the years that kind of made it feel more Disney and less amusement park-like, I think they did a really good job with that. I'm not a huge Avengers or Marvel person, but I really enjoy the attractions that they have in Avengers Campus and just the characters that roam around. I think overall that was really cool about Disneyland Resort, both parks compared to Walt Disney World, is the characters are just here, there, and everywhere. And you don't have to go into a building and wait an hour to see them and get your picture with them or get an autograph. So Spider-Man ride out there, my arms were sore. I was going hard. It was such a great time. I think I won out of the people that I was with. So that was really cool. You're slinging webs out there like Spider-Man does. And as well with Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, our Tower of Terror in Disney World, I really liked it. It was the only ride that I went on throughout my 3 days that I spent in those Disneyland parks. So that was a really fun one for sure. I would say that area was the highlight for me. Incredicoaster, I don't absolutely love. I would go on it again, of course. I do love a good roller coaster, as I've said. But it was a little rickety for me in my liking, even though I do love wooden coasters too. I wish that they would expand more in the Inside Out area. I love those movies because of my background as an LMHC. So I did really enjoy that ride just as a fun one, more so for kids, of course, but it was really cute. And the peanut butter squares that they have at the Bing Bong Sweet Shop, whatever that's called there, do not skip the peanut butter squares that they have. My favorite thing that I ate.
I really enjoyed Radiator Springs and the whole Cars land. That, because Cars was my son's favorite movie when he was little. Like, I think it was on repeat like 20 times a day for like a year and a half. So I absolutely loved walking through that, the Cozy Cone, and then just doing Radiator Springs. And I just loved what they brought to the ride. I think I liked it way better than Test Track. I just thought it was great.
It's so much better over there. Like if you're comparing like Test Track to Radiator Springs Racers. Radiator Springs Racers is hands above Test Track. It's just so much more immersive, I think, because you have like the characters and it just, I don't know, it was a lot more fun. I was there just as an adults only trip, kind of like Taylor, and I just had the best time like riding that. We stood in the standby line because we didn't pay for Genie Plus while we were out there, and we found out to do the single rider because it was a girl that got on with us, and she said it was the 5th time she had ridden in 30 minutes going through single rider line. And I was like, dang, we should have went through that because my friend and I would have been fine riding separately.
My first time out there was Paper Fast Pass when they had it still. So you had to go back to Radiator Springs to get it. The line went all the way out to what is now Avengers Campus to get to that. And that was like 6:30 callbacks that night. I'm like, okay, I'll just do standby. Waited about an hour and worth every penny. I would wait an hour for it any day. Lightning Lane wasn't an option for me.
Cars Land was definitely one of the most immersive areas of any theme park that I've been in. So I love Cars. I wore a shirt that was themed to Lightning McQueen that day that I was out there. I will say I'm probably in the very much minority here. Radiator Springs Racers, I liked it. I don't think it's necessarily worth all the hype that it gets. Like for it to always have a 2+ hour wait, when I'm thinking of what has a 2+ hour wait over here at Disney World, it didn't do it for me as much as I was hoping for it to. And I love Cars. So I will say that I did actually have an individual Lightning Lane or Lightning Lane single pass as they are now for it. So I was not happy about that I paid that much money for it. But I do understand why people would love it so much because they do a really nice job with it. It is definitely a well done ride. But I do really like Test Track over here as well. And I can't wait to see what they do with that.
On Cars Land, though, did you go at night or did you go during the day?
So I did both. So we rode the rides during the day and I really enjoyed that. It was cool just to see the attention to detail for everything. That just in general is something that I've been talking about a lot too with people since coming back from my trip, is I feel like Disneyland just pays more attention to the and the upkeep. Like everything was immaculate out there. And that's not to say that Disney World doesn't have the same attention to detail or the upkeep, but it just felt like it was more of a priority out there. So I feel like with Cars Land, like there's not like a leaf out of place, so to speak. Like everything was just really well done. The lights at night with all the neon lit up, it really felt like you were in the movie. So I hope that that's the standard moving forward, which it seems to have been. Everything that we've gotten since Cars Land, that really like set the precedent for how immersive these lands were going to be for all Disney parks. So it's a good one.
I've mentioned it before, but there's a magic key bar. It used to be an open bar to every guest, but it's a magic key bar that's over there that overlooks Cars Land. And I went up there 2 years ago with one of my friends and we watched the neons turn on, and that was a great little thing of just the sun setting and the neons turning on. It was like, okay, this is really cool. So we don't have stuff like that in Florida. Like, I guess the closest would be like the Christmas lights, but it doesn't have that same feel.
Totally agree. They play the song from the movies and everything, like it's an everyday thing that's huge out there. I mean, the crowds in there at night were like nothing I've ever seen before in one land, like even more so than Galaxy's Edge.
Were you there for Soarin' Over California or Soarin' Over the World?
So I was there for Soarin' Around the World, but I did just recently do Soarin' Over California when it was at Epcot for a short amount of time. And I just wish that they kept Soarin' Over California at California Adventure. Like,
it makes sense.
Was that ever a decision that went through? I understand it for Epcot, but let's not make it the same.
We didn't talk any about nighttime shows, but World of Color. Did you watch it?
World of Color was incredible. There's nothing else like it. I was crying the whole time practically. It's so good. And I love Happily Ever After. I love Fantasmic. I love a good nighttime show, but I wish we could have something like World of Color at Disney World.
World of Color, I stop and watch no matter what. If I'm walking through, if I can find a place to stand, I am there watching it. The fireworks show, I love, like you said, Happily Ever After. But I can go a trip without watching that. I can't go without World of Color.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. And I had the virtual queue entrance as well to make sure that we had a good spot to watch World of Color. I would definitely encourage that. because it's not so much like fireworks that you can really watch it from wherever. You're definitely going to get into some areas where it's either completely backwards or it's just such a distorted view that you probably won't enjoy it as much as if you were in front of it. So just something to keep in mind that you want to get a good spot for it, whether that be through one of the dessert parties or the dining package, or like I said, just getting a virtual queue spot.
And like in Disneyland, Disney California Adventure Pixar Pier does close at a certain time because of everything that's going on with the projections. And you won't. I don't think it reopens after the show at all. I think it's done for the night. So you want to plan accordingly to that as well.
I was gonna say, I think the only downside to like the nighttime shows at Disneyland is their fireworks get canceled a lot. We were there and the first like 4 or 5 fireworks went off and then they stopped and it was canceled for the night. And that was the only night we were able to watch fireworks. And we were kind of sad that we didn't make the time the night before because we had a dining reservation and we missed the fireworks. But that's something that's pretty typical that happens at Disneyland is the fireworks getting canceled.
And the projection show that they replace it with is horrible. If it's they
didn't even give us a projection show. It was
okay.
it was just canceled.
Definitely prioritize Fantasmic on your day at Disneyland Park over the fireworks. They're most nights going to have both, but the times are very close together. I wouldn't suggest trying to do both in one night because you'll not get a good spot for either of them probably. But definitely prioritize Fantasmic. There's a lot of opinions out there that Disneyland's is so much better. I wouldn't necessarily say that, but once again, I'm very partial growing up with and experiencing as recent as last night. I just watched Fantasmic at Hollywood Studios, so I love that show. They're both out there with all the characters. Yes, hands down, so much better than Hollywood Studios, but prioritize Fantasmic for sure. I would not miss that, nor would I miss World of Color.
They have dining packages for Fantasmic there too. So like Blue Bayou, places like that, you can go eat and have reserved seating. And I think they have lightning lanes for Fantasmic, and it's not connected to your regular lightning lane, so it doesn't count as your 3 that you get. Terry, you haven't been to these parks. Is there any other questions you have?
2 questions. One, in my head, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, the parks are smaller or feel smaller. Do you think that kind of helps the vibe while you're out there? That because sometimes, and I know like especially in the planning process, especially people that haven't been to Disney World, it's a lot. Like it's 4 parks, and if you don't strategically plan your day, you're not, especially in Magic Kingdom or Hollywood Studios, maybe you won't get all your favorites, and if you don't buy lightning lanes and all the extras, you're waiting in line all day. So do you think like maybe smaller parks with less, does that make a better experience sometime? Not every time, but does that make that experience out there feel a little different and better? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we pretty much all know that, right? Like everyone talks about how small the parks are at Disneyland, and they are. The footprint of them, at least California Adventure, I would say, does feel very small. Like it feels pretty comparable to Hollywood Studios, I would say, in terms of its footprint. That being said, Disneyland Park did not feel small to me at all. I know that it actually is, but there is so many attractions and dining and experiences jam-packed into that park somehow that I fully expected to do my 3 days in each of the parks, enjoy my time at Downtown Disney, and do like half of the steps that I usually do as an annual pass holder at Disney World. Oh no, it was not like that at all. I did a lot more walking out there than I thought that I was going to, which is fine. As a seasoned Disney professional, I know what to expect for that. But I would say like the experience is just different, but definitely go in preparing to be zigzagging all over the place if you're looking for short wait times, which is pretty easy to do out there, which is the nice thing of having the smaller footprint. But if you were walking from where Galaxy's Edge is in Disneyland Park back up to, let's say, the train station at the very front of Main Street USA, it is a trek and a half for sure. So I was very surprised about that. That was one of the biggest things that I kept in mind coming back home was like, wow, I thought these were small parks. And here I am exhausted, just like I am when I walk around Disney World for a week. So definitely something to keep in mind.
That's good.
If I remember right, there are more rides in Disneyland, like the actual park, than all of Walt Disney World. So
oh wow,
There's a lot. Like it feels, we were there when they were, I guess they're still doing the Main Street Electrical Parade, and they were shutting down the route. And we were having the hardest time because we were trying to go get on some different rides and not watch the parade that night. And we were having the hardest time getting around. Like we literally had to walk like all the way around Matterhorn to be able to get to where we needed to go. And it felt like there was a lot to do right there. We actually ended up watching most of the parade standing in line to do the teacups. And we actually, because it went right by us and we were on the teacups as it was going by. So we actually had fun. We were like, oh, we're being productive, watching the parade and standing in line for something.
There's also no point of reference in Disneyland Park like there's in Magic Kingdom because you cannot see the castle from wherever you are in there, which is important in Magic Kingdom, right? Like you can totally tell where you are just by looking at Cinderella Castle, and you're not going to see Sleeping Beauty Castle as soon as you leave the hub area at Disneyland. So it is very easy to get lost in there. It's not your traditional like hub and spoke system like Magic Kingdom has. It is here, there, and everywhere to get from one place to another. So I'm sure there's shortcuts. I'm sure the more that I go out there, I'll find those just like I know at Magic Kingdom, but it's easy to miss things. So you really do have to go in with a plan for sure is what I would recommend if you're spending a day there or even 2 days there.
My other question was going back to Universal. You mentioned that there was more of like the Hollywood aspect out there because it's on actual movie lots. And obviously that's because Hollywood is right there. So would you suggest if someone was more into like the movies and everything like that, that they do Universal Hollywood as opposed to Universal Orlando? Or do you think it doesn't make that much of a difference?
I would say, yeah. I think, Jason, you can probably speak more to this as well, because I know that you did the Warner Brothers tour, if I'm not mistaken. But there's a lot of opportunity for just movie making in general out in Hollywood, obviously, that we don't have in Orlando because that's not what it's known for. So I think I'm not a huge movie person by any means, and I still enjoyed every little bit and piece that I saw at the studio tour at Universal Hollywood. So I definitely would say, yeah, if you're a huge movie person and that's important to you to see the behind the scenes, I would definitely pick Hollywood over Orlando for that. Orlando used to have more of that, but of course we've kind of steered away from that as more and more IP has been introduced to the parks.
And I'd agree. It's a lot of history too with Universal. They've been over there for over 100 years, so a lot of your favorite films have been filmed there. This year for Halloween Horror Nights in Hollywood, they put the Monsters House in the studio that they filmed the original Frankenstein movie in. So there's that type of history there. And if you're not there for the rides or anything, then go do the tram tour, go out, and like Taylor said, there's a bunch of Hollywood history, and we're losing it every day out there. There's studios being sold off. Some you just can't get into. Disney doesn't let you into their lot for free. You have to pay for it, and you have to be a D23 member to get into it now, or invited by Disney themselves. So being that Universal has it as an attraction, I think it's worth the small price to get in there and actually do it. And see that stuff, because even the families that have a movie buff will see stuff that they see on TV all the time and enjoy it.
So if you're going out to California and you're going to plan a trip for Disneyland and Universal Hollywood, what order would you say would you think would be the best to do which set of parks like first, like do Disneyland and California Adventure and then Universal Hollywood, or the other way around?
So kind of mixed opinions on that, because I think I would actually do it one way for Orlando and one way for California. So I did Universal Hollywood first, and then I did my days at Disneyland. I really liked that order. I think it worked well for what I was trying to accomplish in the Universal City area. So I wanted to do all of that while I had a rental car accessible to me, because I definitely did not need that at Disneyland. So it was nice to have the kind of off-site more so experience first, and then transition into now on-site, smooth sailing, walking for the rest of the time. But I would suggest the opposite if you're doing Orlando, because Disney World is a whole lot over here to manage and transport from one place to the other, and Universal is set up like a college campus in Orlando. So basically, my suggestion would be go for the size. Do the bigger size or the thing that is easier to transport first. So that way it feels like you're easing into your vacation and do the next part next.
Our next episode is going to be my favorite, probably, that we've done so far. And that's going to be all about Halloween Horror Nights in both Orlando and Hollywood. We're going to have Heather and Allison on, who will be coming back off of their Hollywood trip to tell us all about that. And we'll discuss similarities and what we enjoyed and everything like that. So, Taylor, we were very thankful for you to come on and talk about your experience out on the West Coast. And how can people get a hold of you if they would like to book a trip with you?
Sure. So the best ways to reach me would be through my Facebook business page, which is my first and last name with Magical Travel. And you can also email me, which is taylor@magicaltravel.com. Definitely the easiest ways. I'm on those. I check them several times a day. I'm very, very accessible. So let me know. I'd love to help you guys and perhaps even help you decide what coast might be best for the needs that you're trying to satisfy for your vacation, because they definitely offer different things, which I think is so important. So deciding what be best for your trip is important. So help you do that for sure.
All right. Well, safe travels, and we will see you on the next episode.